and move justice just one more increment toward being compassionate and fair and equally distributed. And so, to Marty.
You know, part of me doesn't understand why I'm asked to do this, all right? Because in my head, justice is such a natural thing, right? It's something that belongs to you, it belongs to me. If we don't take advantage of it, we lose it, right? So it's almost like getting up in the morning, you know, it's a natural thing to do. You get up and you put one foot in front of the other. And you try to understand that, that my definition of justice, if I really have a full definition of justice in my head, it understands yours, right? It understands yours, right? So it just seems natural. It seems like, what do you need to do this, right? But I'm going to tell two stories. Let's have one to start and one to end. And the one story was we were together with a group of our neighbors from the southern border who were living in fear because of being born, right? And the people I was with, you know, they all said something. They said, "Do you want to say something?" I said, "No, I don't say something." The hell, everybody said, "What did I say?" And they said, "Say something." And the only thing I'm interested in doing is loving you and serving you because you're my neighbor, all right? Because we're neighbors. And when I think of resistance, you know, I think, what is resistance, right? And the second I said love, everybody clapped. You know, people who, I have a hard time speaking English, and you have people in the room, man, that have been here for a couple of months, man, taking that road and doing the best they can to speak English, and they understood there was that connectivity, right? And so what is resistance, you know, what is resistance? And I believe in my heart, when we talk about social justice, we talk about resistance, that it means connecting. It means sometimes putting the sign down and extending your hand to people, regardless of where they're at and what they do and what you think or I think, because half the time, 99% of the time when I think I'm wrong, right? But engaging in those conversations and being able to rather than hate what's going on, which I hate, right? But what pulls me away from the hate is the ability to have a conversation about what pain is. And the other part of social justice to me is addressing pain, is saying that at any given time in our lives, man, we suffer, man, we really do. And we feel helpless. And if you really stop and think that everybody in this room, if you have any belief in anything, part of that belief is being charged with serving the helpless, okay? And connecting with this pain that we're all going through on both sides of the aisle. I don't care who you are, you're paying $9 a dozen eggs, right? Paying more for gas. And having those conversations that get people in tune with what's going on rather than a political proclivity. And I'm all over the place because I was just all over the place over there when I was sitting down because I was saying, what the frick am I going to talk about? You know, I mean, I don't, it hurts. And I think of pain in our community, and I think of the narratives on both sides of the aisle, because we all like to think that we own what's right, right? And the narratives on both sides of the aisle that just preach fear and pain. On both sides of the aisle, you know, the conservatives and the Republicans, it isn't just theirs. The liberals and the Democrats do a whole lot of that too. And preach this pain and fear that gets us away from justice, that gets us away from what's right and wrong, that makes us forget and makes us think about the southern border, but not think about people who are LGBTQ, who identify as LGBTQIA+, who's been living that life every second they were on this earth. Living in that fear and living in that pain every second that they're alive. It's easy to forget, folks. Right? So when I think of social justice, I think of the stuff SALT does, which is a lot of that. And I don't want to talk about what we do because it sounds like I'm being self-serving.
Although I have to say, I don't know a lot about salt, and I would like to hear about it.
You would.
So, yeah, what?
You're the one. You're the one.
I do have a simple,
Yeah.
I have your mission statement.
Lori, our organizer.
Pardon my language. SALT is a diverse partnership of community members, business owners, and agencies committed to working together to improve the quality of life in Sullivan County. We share information, increasing prevention efforts, and interagency collaboration. SALT improves access to services that empower us all to create lasting and positive changes in our community. That's our mission statement. We had to do that because it would make us look good, right? Make us look like we freaking know what we're doing. The reality of what SALT is your SALT. Anybody who's in this county and recognizes that at any given time in their life, they're in pain or they're hopeless, they're a member of SALT. Doesn't matter who you are. If you're hungry, you're a member of SALT. If you're full and you're giving food to somebody, you're a member of SALT. So people always kind of try to pigeonhole what SALT is. You know, well, they always say you're an agency. We're not an agency, man. We're you. We're you. We're everything, you know. We're people that recognize that. We're together, we're better. So that's the mission statement of SALT, but this is what SALT is. It resides in our chest, resides in our hearts and our minds.
And you do have a group of volunteers who do certain.
We have a group of people that recognize that if I serve you, I know when I need you will serve me. Right? We're not a charity, you know, and the people that volunteer don't come in and say I'm a volunteer. They come in with the notion that they're part of a collective solution that recognizes that when they need, we'll be there for them. There's a big difference because that means we all own it. You know, when people say to us all the great things you do, what great things do we do? You know what I mean? What is so, you know, when I think of social justice, I think about the basic needs that we all have as human beings, that if we don't have them met, we end up in some prison in El Salvador because my name is spelled differently than Colavito. You know, because when I'm on that flight to see whatever the frick it is in El Salvador, I'm wondering who's picking my kids up from school. I can't imagine what that would feel like. I can't imagine my grandchildren coming home from school one day and mom and dad and nan and papa are gone. So rather than tell you about social justice, that's an assault to social justice. That's an assault to any justice. And we can stand and we can, you know, hold signs, which is good, or we can put them down for a half hour a day and extend our hand to others and discuss what is painful for all of us. And to discuss that with that person who might be on the right side of the aisle, you know, let's talk about how you would feel if one day you would never see your children. You would never be able to feel your grandchild's head or look at their little knuckles, you know, or smell just what a baby smells like. You will never have that opportunity for the rest of your life. And forget about who's president. And forget about who's drafting what bill. That's all bullshit. You know what I mean? That's all stuff that keeps us pigeonholed. But recognize how it would feel for me to never touch my granddaughters for the rest of my life. You know, how would that feel? And that's an assault to what justice is. Because my choices might bring me to never holding my granddaughter again, but your choices or yours or somebody else's choices shouldn't hold me back. So Tom asked me to talk about social justice, and I know I run on, and half the time I don't know what I'm talking about. But the last thing I'm going to talk about in regard to connectivity, you know, the ending story, and I don't know if this makes sense, and it doesn't. We were doing some outreach in Monticello. We do a lot of outreach. So we extend our hands all the time because I need to feel what your hand feels like. I need to feel what your hand feels like to feel part of something, right? So I'm a selfish guy. So when we do outreach and we bring food to people, it's because I'm selfish. It's not because I'm a saint, because I'm screwed, man. You know, when it comes to the pearly gates, I'm screwed. All right. So we're walking in Monticello, getting Narcan out, which we got here today for everybody as well. And when we approach people, we say, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Mark Colavito, I'm part of SALT, the Community Coalition. We love you. We want to make sure you stay safe. We want to make sure, everything's okay. Can I give you Narcan? Can we give you some snacks? And there was a postman walking by, right? And I saw the postman. I wanted to make sure he had Narcan in his freaking bag. Forget about it. Seeing people all the time. So I said, excuse me. And he turned around and he said, Marty? He said, Marty? I said, what? And the second he said that, this guy called us. He called us like 3 weeks ago about a woman who didn't have food, just got out of the hospital, and was getting dicked around by everybody he called. And somebody said, call, lower your bar and call Marty Colavito and Salt, right? And so it turns out we deliver to this person every single week and everything. But he's like, I can't believe this was this easy. And I never met this guy in my life. I never met him in my life. And I'm walking down the street, turns around and goes, Marty? And I said, the second he said that, I said, this has got to be the freaking postman that called me that day. But I'm saying that's what connectivity does. That's what the handout does. Because 5 minutes before he made that call, he was hopeless. He didn't know what to do. And he made the call. And he extended his hand, and we extended our hands. And that brought us closer together. And I don't know who this guy voted for and did he vote for. I don't know any of that. All I know is we became closer because of that. And because we became closer, we tend to listen better. Right? So I'm all over the place. I know. I'm sorry. And that's my story. I don't know how to end this stuff half the time. The questions you have, any problems, hassles, gripes, speak to Lynn. But no,
No, but it is interesting, like, so what I hear you say is, like social justice or, taking a look at it, what is an affront
yeah.
in one sense to justice is an interesting way to look at it. Are you in doing whatever you're doing, are you adding something positive into the conversation, into the relationship, or are you like kind of not? And it's kind of, it's a great way to look at it.
I tell you, this is, so I've been in rooms with a bunch of people that voted for our current president, right? And they asked me what I think, and I said, the only thing I think, and pardon my language again, is I think he's a piece of shit, right? But I thought he was a piece of shit 30 years ago. It's got nothing to do with politics. It's got nothing to do with right, left. I think he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
No, and so I said, look, if you want to talk, you need to understand that that's what I think of the guy. It's not what I think of you, because you voted for him. I think that of him. Now, if we want to have a conversation, but you just need to know it's not about politics with this guy. He's just a bad guy. Right? And so we have conversations all the time. And this extremely right-leaning guy, we have these conversations all the time now. I see him all the time, and now he talks in terms of not right or left, but in terms of justice and what's right. And I'd rather do right than be right any day of the week, right? And he talks in those terms now. So I'm not saying, he's on the left side of the aisle, but he's on this side of the aisle. He's starting to feel his heart. He's starting to think with his mind. And that's a powerful, powerful thing. So if you want to resist, that's the way to resist. The way to resist is to win that heart and mind, is to get that one extra person on our side of the issue than yesterday. That's how you resist. You don't resist by screaming. You don't resist by throwing stuff. You resist by hearts and minds and winning them. And if that means you get pinched, you get pinched. But you don't get pinched in such a way where you're assaulting somebody. So that's my story.
I gathered from what Lauren said that SALT stands for salt of the earth. It's not an acronym.
So it isn't.
Oh, it is an acronym.
Yeah, Sullivan Allies leading together. When we first start, I didn't think, I'm not clever enough, so I got to be honest with you. I didn't think of the name. But when the person who did, her name is Melissa Stickle, she said, yeah, we're the salt of the earth. So they thought of SALT, and then we had to figure out what it would stand for.
State and
Because
local
we had
tax,
to, huh?
not state and local tax.
Right. But I remember the day like it was yesterday, we were like, yeah, that's a great name. What the frick is it going to stand for? Because somebody's going to want to know, you know? And it took us like 4 hours to figure out. That's stupid, not stupid, but, you know.
Sullivan County.
Yeah. Sullivan Allies leaned together. First it was Sullivan Agencies, and we're like, get the frick out of here. That's the blind leading the blind, you know? So, but yeah, that was fun. I remember one day, and then I'll shut up. When we first went out, we would get furniture. We'd hustle everybody. And there was we were able to get a queen size bed for this family living in a complex in Monticello. I remember when we pulled up and this kid was about 6-year-old, came out screaming, happy as a pig in slop, just screaming. And we're like, what are you saying? It was the first time she ever had a bed. First time she ever had a bed. And again, I think of my children, I think of my grandchildren. You know, when you're a kid and you're getting whacked around, you get through it. But when you think of a child, when you think of people that you love having to suffer because of injustice, because of inequity, you know, again, you know, I don't know how that doesn't reach both sides of the aisle. We just got to figure out how to get it there. Right? So that's my story.
Anybody on, Jim want to ask a question? Anybody on?
Any
Zoom?
questions, for Marty on Zoom? Oh,
Tom?
Do you have any advice in general? Just put it very simply, if ICE comes to your door,
Yeah, I do. We do a lot of that.
No matter
We just
what.
don't tell people because then you put targets on people, right? So what we kind of, the discussions we have is that if ICE comes to your door, all right, you do not have to open your door. Now, if they have a signed warrant by a judge, judicial warrant, you know, to pick somebody up, and if there's reasonable belief that somebody's in your house, they can come in. But if that person isn't in your house, you do not have to open up that door, okay? And you can say to them, what we tell collaterally what people to do is to film this stuff. All right, so if I'm there at your house, I'm gonna have my camera out, and as long as I'm more than 6 feet away from you, I can do it. And I'm filming it, because if that person inside says you're not welcome in my house, you cannot come in my house, they cannot come in your house. Okay? And so we have little cards we give out. If you want, I can give you item in my card, and you can hand out to people that explain in Spanish and English what to do if ICE rolls on the set, you know. Now, the other thing that's really scary, and we have to understand, is if I had a dime for every rumor that night ICE was here, I'd be a millionaire. And we have to do diligence. So I get calls all the time, you know, ICE is here, you know, ICE is there. And, you know, I used to go, you know, oh, they're at Formaggio's, they're here, they're there. And I used to drive there because I wanted to film, I wanted to make, and ICE wasn't there. All right? So there's a lot of rumors, and we met somebody in Kingston at a protest a couple of weeks ago who was involved with their justice center, and they said the biggest problem they're having is the rumors as well. All right? So if you see ICE, take a picture. All right? Just take a picture so we know it's legitimate. All right? What help?
yeah, thank you.
Do they have to wear uniforms or?
I listen, I don't, you know, does law enforcement have to do a lot of
Well,
things?
if somebody comes to your door and you live in the middle of nowhere.
They have to identify themselves. Usually have those ICE jackets on.
Okay, I mean, they could say they're ICE and who are they?
Yeah, I do know 2 people that dropped their kids off in school and they were so scared that they tried to do it the right way, went and we haven't seen them in a month, or they haven't seen them in a month. You know, which makes me think of the children, you know, and waiting. I remember growing up in the Bronx, and I'd have to wait for my mother at the train station every day when I was a kid. Because she was worried, because we grew up, you know, I didn't have a father, thank God he was a jerk, so it would have been worse, right? But I'd have to wait for my mom every day. And I say to myself now, imagine being that 5-year-old or 6-year-old kid waiting for my mom who never came. So yeah, they're supposed to identify themselves. Right? They are supposed to identify themselves. Right, exactly. Yeah.
Just to fill in the blanks a little bit, when you were talking about, what happens if kids come home from school and their parents aren't there, or anything like that. There is a number of groups doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
Last night, there was a session where, people were with notaries and translators, and people were signing documents to make sure the guardianship of the kids would pass to someone else if they were taken away. This is happening regularly now that this is being scheduled. And there are loads of, there's a whole group locally working out of Liberty that are passing around all of the documents that,
Right. So we brought one of those folders to you guys that day. I don't know if you remember. I can't believe we're having this conversation, right? This
No.
is insane.
it's unbelievable that we're
In
having
Nazi
this.
Germany, they
It's,
were, people, they just came to their house and found them up.
I mean, I have goosebumps. I can't believe we're having this conversation. And question authority. Remember that? Remember when these those buttons? Question authority. And then it's time to continue to question authority. So this guy Riley is doing a town hall Tuesday. I don't want your bills are great. You're wonderful. You're a congressman. Thank God. All of that good news. But the words of equity and inclusion and justice should be in every single speech that you make. All right.
Even though those are the keywords that the administration
Yes.
using AI to
Yeah.
identify people that they want to.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you're my congressman and I'm paying your salary, you should be including those words.
Where's this town hall?
It's on the
It's
phone.
Zoom.
Yes, where-
Oh.
I gotta, so I'm sorry, I apologize.
No,
But I
no,
want to
it's
mention, I
great.
also have Narcan kids for everybody here. God forbid. There instructions are in them.
Kids have an expiration date.
4 years from now.
4 years, thank you.
My love to everybody and your families and everybody.
Living through with heart energy
Mhm.
is really one of the most powerful things you can do. As you say, you have to win over
Yeah.
their hearts. And that's where it starts. They really, and I think they've given us some really good things to think about, because this is not like, it's not like, oh, social justice is this, and this. No. It is like embracing this idea that that justice is a foundational thing, and that you always need to be in alignment with justice. How you shop at the grocery store, how you dispose of your plastics, whether you repair things or throw them away, and all that stuff. It's all connected, and also put into action.
The last thing I'm going to say, though, before I do leave, is that be comfortable with what you can do. All right? Don't look at others and say, I can't do that. Look within yourself and say, I can do this. All right? Because we can all do something. And again, even if it's just extending your hand, even if it's just hearts and minds, recognize what you can do as opposed to what others are doing. All right? Again, my love to you guys, you families.
Thank you.
I'm on a mission. I got to run. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
Bye. Have fun.
I'm gonna sing you another song.
Two. Laurie, I got it.
Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.
So this is a part, so that We Fall Down I wrote a trilogy. And it was the first one was we fall down. And this is the second one, which is called overabundance or abundance. I have so much, don't know what to do. I have so much, don't know what to do. It hurts so much, this paying attention. Don't know what to do, don't know what to do. Wanna run, wanna hide, wanna get angry, wanna cry, wanna shout, wanna pout, wanna just go sit alone. And more, and more, for all that we lose today. Yes, I mourn, oh, I mourn, for all that we lose today. Today, it's overabundant. This feeling of despair, it's overabundant. It's everywhere, it's overabundant. You just can't get away, there's nowhere to go, and nothing to do. Pray, pray for sanity, pray for justice, pray for us all. There's nothing to do but pray for clarity and reflection to get through. Yes, it takes reflection to get through, 'cause it shifts. Oh, it's all abundant. The beauty's all around. Nothing but great abundance. The birds sing in the trees. The wind, it blows the leaves. And then you breathe. It's abundance. Just abundance that we breathe. You can do that with me. It's abundance. It's abundance, just abundance, just abundance that we breathe. That we breathe. One more time. It's abundance, just abundance that we breathe. That we breathe. The last piece of that trilogy is a song called We Are Enough. You are enough. And as Marty says, we do not need to judge ourselves by what other people are able to do. What is we need to do is figure out what we can do. And so this is a closing poem by Judy Chicago. She wrote it in 1979. And then all that has divided us will merge. And then compassion will be wedded to power. And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind. And then both men and women and all will be gentle. And then both men and women and all will be strong. And then no person will be subjected to another's will. And then all the rich and the free and the varied And then the greed of some will give away to the needs of the many. And then all will share equally in this earth's abundance. And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old. And then all will nourish the young. And then all will cherish life's creatures. And then everywhere will be called Eden once again. So we'll extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we will carry in our hearts and make manifest in our days until we meet again. And just as a closing chant, I hear you calling my name. I feel you holding me, calling my name, holding me, welcoming me in a circle of love. I hear you calling my name. I feel you holding me again. I hear you calling my name. I feel you holding me, calling my name, holding me, holding me, welcoming me, welcoming me in a circle of love again. I hear you calling my name. I feel you holding me. I feel you calling my name. I feel you holding me. Calling my name. Holding me. Welcoming me in a circle of love. Welcoming me in a circle of love. I hope in the next week ahead you are held in circles of love and you create circles of love everywhere you go. I have cards. If anybody wants to have some in their pocket in terms of what to do if ice should come.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Nice to see
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Much love to everyone. Thank you so much.
Tamara, and I know Sonia was, is she still there?
Oh, and I didn't want to comment, but they're also beeswax, which means that they are not, when you burn paraffin candles, you are putting toxins into your environment. But if you burn beeswax, they're beeswax. Yeah.
Did there be
Made in Ukraine. Made in Ukraine. We have coffee and refreshments.
Ukrainian beef?
Anyway, so I'm so glad you came. Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome. It's all different, we have like different.
That's all raw
Yeah.
beeswax?
And it's,
Awesome.
and it's not always.
Made in Ukraine.
It's lovely.
You know we were sporting them and we wanted to do
Yeah.
it. So here we go.
That's right. Anyway, we can.
Got
Give
the
you
picture
something.
on it. Oh, wow.
Unitary, I can give you a little pamphlet on unitary.
They're unscented.
Yeah.
No borders, no colors, it's afraid, fixes
Check
it.
before.
Made in Ukraine.
To
Awesome.
see your face.
Yes.
Worded like a postal company.
Yeah. But we'll take your car because if for some reason a piece doesn't fit in your car, you at least have the movies on top.